are live.
Ooh.
Hello, everybody. It's very exciting. I'm just going to double check that.
Okay. Yep, we have the red light on. We are live.
We are
so
live.
Get ready while people are coming.
I think it's showing up. I don't know, I'm not seeing it.
Well, we
if you can
one
see us,
viewer.
oh, we have one viewer. Awesome! Yay!
Salam, thank you for joining us. Again, sorry for my voice. I still haven't got her back yet. We're just going to wait a few minutes so that dostay ma بیاید. Dostay ki ja as Kelly John. She's going to be talking to us about depression. She is a student و نوشته میکنه درباره depression. So دکتر نیست. و خودشون رو براتون میگه. So I'll start the introduction with خود دو نفر وقتش رو کرد. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So we'll start
She's
this.
doing awesome.
Thank you. خب دوستو امروز همراه Kelly Aiello هستیم. She's a student at University of Toronto و همچنان برای magazines و websites mental health نشر میکنن. نام خدا بسیار پرستیباد هستن و امروز آمدن که امروز شما درباره depression گپ بزنه. پولی همه چیز دوست خوب خود ما است. یک چند وقت پیش چون این پروگرام از خاطر گرفتیم که یک چند وقت پیش یا 2 هفته پیش یک افغان ما خودکشی کرده بود اینجا در تورنتو از خاطر خود دپرس بود و با وقت برش کمک نرسید. So حالا وقت میتونم برای Kelly to speak to you.
That's me. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm, as Muska said, a student at the University of Toronto. I'm studying neuropsychology, 2 majors, psychology and neuroscience. I'm also a mental health writer. And I just want everybody to know that this is an information only. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a mental health specialist, so I can't diagnose. If you do suspect that you or somebody you love is suffering with depression, it's important that you go and get help.
Thank you. دوستان من نمی‌کنم صدای ما صحیح میاد از اینجا کمک دور است من نمیتونم ببینم و بسیار کم میبینم شما بگوین که صدای ما رو صحیح میشنوین در کامنتس نوشته کنین. I just want to know if they can hear us right.
Oh yeah, can you hear us?
دوستان یکیتون میتونین کامنت کنین اگه صدای ما رو میشنوین.
Maybe.
They're all saying hi and I love yous. So hello, we love you too.
It's nice to be loved. Well, maybe we should just.
No one's copying. I think we can continue.
Can you hear us?
Oh, thank you, Mashta John. Yes, they can hear us.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, thank you.
Okay, we will start off. أول person میکنیم که خود depression چی است. So Kelly, tell us, what is depression?
Depression it can be actually a psychiatric illness or a psychological disorder. It's generally characterized by a low mood. There are physical symptoms that go with it. Malaise, which means tired, fatigued, aching joints, aching muscles. But it's also abnormal thought process. So somebody can be thinking in what's called a generalized thoughts, and that I'm a horrible person, I'm terrible, they feel guilty, they also feel anxiety too. So that's kind of what depression is.
خود دوستا قسمی که شنیدن depression چیز است که میتونه چیز دست که در موقع است یک نفر همیشه مونده می باشه، خسته می باشه، جگرخون می باشه و زیادتر وقت از 2 هفته باید زیادتر یا 2 هفته باید از پشت باشه اما تو جگرخون که به این depression باشه یعنی روزمره جگرخون با کل ما می باشه. I just told people like it has to be at least like 2 weeks for it to be depression and not just like your regular one day when you're sad.
Yeah, and that's part of the diagnosis process, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So question number 2, what causes depression?
The cause of depression, actually there's multiple theories of the cause of depression. There is no one cause of depression. It's what a lot of researchers and psychologists, they term a biopsychosocial model. So you have the biological factors, which includes the brain chemistry. I know a lot of people on Muska's page before were talking about neurotransmitters called serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. Their levels are abnormal in people with depression. There's also depression that's related to trauma, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's also depression that can be a symptom of another problem. It could be because, say, a patient is undergoing chemotherapy. It could be, the cause could be, there's a multitude of causes, but what's important to know is that it's all of these causes coming together to actually cause the depression.
Okay, we're going to do something because they're asking me to translate.
Okay.
So we're going to do part by part.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay? Just so because I'm not going to remember all of it.
Sure.
دوستان به چیزی که من براتون کوشش کنم که ترجمه کنم میخواستم بگویم که دری ما بسیار قوی نیست است و پیش از پیش معذرت میخوایم امید است که کسی خفه نشه. I will try my best که translate کنم but I'm not perfect at it. So okay, let's start it again. What causes depression?
There are many causes of depression. There can be biological causes.
So بسیار چیزا هست که میتونه که انسان depressed بسازه. یکی است biological که در دماغشان میباشه.
So that's brain. There can also be environmental causes.
Environment مثل که چیزایی که در دور پیش آدم است، چی گپ از دور پیش، مثل که در افغانستان زیاد جنگ است، یک انسان اونمو depressed ساخته میتونه یا فامیلشون پرابلم داره او depressed ساخته میتونه.
And there's also actually genetic causes too, but no one gene actually causes depression.
و همچنین میتونه که جینز باشه. جینز با فارسی نمیفهم چی میگه. خب basically در خون آدم میباشه. در خون نمیخواد در وجود آدم میباشه که از فامیل بر آدم میراثی میمانه. So تنها یک جین نیست که بگه که اینی چیز است، اینا میتونن پس کنن یک چیز هنوز معلوم نیست 100% که چی است. but در جینز آدم میباشه که از فامیل بر آدم میراث میمانه basically.
Yeah, and it's important to know that no one causes depression. No one origin causes depression. It's all of these factors together which will cause depression.
So میگن که تنها یک چیز نیست که depressed آدم میتونه ساخته. یعنی چند چیز یک جای شده یک انسان مریضی depression داره میتونه.
Yeah, that's about it.
دوستا بازم my Farsi is not great. So معذرت میخوایم که بالا و پایان میشه گپایم. What are the symptoms of depression? So let me tell them what the question is.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So سوالی است که چطور آدم میفهمه که آدم depressed است یا یک دوستی یا فامیل ما depressed است. دوستا سوالاتون رو خواندن میتونم at the end I will go through it and I will ask her the questions. در آخر سوالاتون رو میخوانیم. سوال است که depression چطور میفهمین که یک انسان depressed است.
So what's depression? Oh, what are we going through that first one again, or what are the symptoms?
What are the symptoms?
Symptoms of depression. Well, there are symptoms for adults and there are also symptoms for children, which are very different, and it's important to know the difference because children, even babies as young as 6 months, have been noticed to actually suffer with depression. So it's important to know that. So do you want to translate that?
Yeah. So برای depression symptoms برای اشتکا و برای کلانا فرق میکنه و بسیار مهم است که انسان بفهمه که symptoms برای یک اشتک و برای یک کلان چی است. میگن که میگه اول اشتکی که حتی 6 ماه باشه معلوم شده که اونا depressed بودن میتونه. So let's hear the 6 months or the child symptoms.
So for children, it's generally, I believe the standard is under 17 years old. And what they do is you see symptoms of anger, irritability, lashing out.
So از 17 سال پایان symptomsش است اعصاب خرابی. What else?
Irritability.
زود اعصاب خراب میشه.
Misbehavior. Bad behavior.
I don't know how to say behavior in Farsi. رویش امروی مردم خراب می باشه. شاید به فارسی بی‌تربیت
Acting out, I guess.
Yeah, دفعتاً قار میشن.
Yeah, that's about it. A lot of sleeping.
بسیار خواب میکنن.
And
Or no
that's
sleep, right?
with children it's more sleep.
More sleep?
Yeah.
Okay. So اشتکایی که بسیار خواب میکنن چانس از اونا شانس است که depressed بوده باشن.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what's been noticed in children.
برای اشتکا و یا برای کسایی که از ابتدا پایان است اینمی چیزا را طالب پیدا کردن که اعصاب خرابی میکنن یا زیاد خواب میکنن. Appetite?
In children, there's no one, they can either be more or less, like overeating too much or eating too less, is the same as adults. But the difference between adults and children is that children show more irritability, more anger, and more lashing out. And that's important to know because that is not always the case in adults.
Okay. میگه باید کسی بکنیم که فرق بین یک کسی که کلان است که دپرس است یا از 17 سال بالا یا از 17 سال پایین. از 17 سال پایین زیاد عصب خرابی میکنه، قالمقال میکنه و شاید زیادتر خواب کنه.
So for adults, I guess. So for adults, there are a lot of symptoms, and not everybody will have all the symptoms. What's important to note is that in North America and Canada, that you actually need to have, I believe it's 3 of the, at least one of the symptoms, plus a depressed mood. So the symptoms can be a low mood.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, sure.
You need one of them?
Yeah, one of these,
Okay.
plus within a 2-week period, plus a low mood.
در کانادا و امریکا باید در ظرف 2 هفته از این چیزایی که کلی جان براتون میگه یک چیزش رو داشته باشین و همراه 5 چیزش رو باید داشته باشین و چند what is it? 5 of these and what else?
5 symptoms that we'll be telling you about, plus a low mood for 2 weeks or more.
برای 2 هفته جگرخون باید باشن. اگر کسایی که دپرس است برای 2 هفته کم از کم جگرخون می باشه و 5 از این چیز کم از کم 5 از این چیزا را که ما براتون لیست میدیم.
So they are diminished pleasure or interest in what normally you would find pleasurable.
چیزایی را که یک وقت شما خوش داشتین حالت برش خوش ندارین، نمیخواین این چیزا را کنین، خوشایند نمی باشه براتون چیزایی را که یک وقت خوش داشتین.
Weight loss or gain.
وزن گرفتن یا وزن باختن.
Sleep disturbances, so sleeping too much or sleeping too little, insomnia or hypersomnia.
یک خواب زیاد شدن یا خواب بیخی کم شدن. بیخوابی. Sorry.
I don't know if you can actually translate this. It's called psychomotor agitation or retardation. Now, what that is that you're either really, really jittery and you can't control your movements, or you are basically you can't move. And it's actually a physical symptom.
Okay.
Jittery.
Jittery. I'll explain it. میگه که یک انسانی که دفعتاً یا از وقتی که دپرس شده یا در ظرف 2 هفته جیتری که طاقتش نمیگیره، آرامش نمیگیره، so گپم که میزنه دفعتاً I guess یک قسم عملا یا میلرزن اینا جیتری میگه. So I hope I can explain it better the next time.
You also got the or not moving at all.
Oh, yeah, because خاموش میشن, like when they go quiet down and they don't talk much.
They just don't move and
like شیمی چیزی نمیداشته باشن که زیاد شور بخورن یا چیزو بکنن.
Yeah. There's also the feelings that go along with it too, and that is part of the thought process, is that you start to feel unworthy, feel guilty, feel like you don't deserve what you have.
So it احساس میکنین که چیزی که ارزش چیز را ندارین، برای این چیز خوب نیستین. Basically هر چی که هر خوبی هم اگه براتون شما میگن مرزش از این را نداشتم، من خوب نیستم و من هیچ خوبی باید نشه، از کاری که خود پایان فکر میکنین.
Okay, and it's also your memory starts to decrease as well as the ability to concentrate.
یاد فراموشی هم برای کسی که دپرس باشه یاد فراموشی پیدا میشه و دیر نمیتونن که کانسنتریت کنن یا فکر خدا برای یک چیز بگیرن، زود فکرشان از یک جای به دیگر جای میره.
And the worst part of all, and this is what you really need to pay attention to if somebody you love is suffering with depression, is when they start having thoughts or talking about death or suicide, as well as self-harm. It's really important to notice those. If somebody tells you, I don't want to be here anymore, then you need to listen to them.
باید از میگه گوش کنین یا اگر خودتان هستین خدا نخواسته احساس از این میکنین که خدا وار کنین یا خدا نخواسته خودکشی کنین، از زندگی تنگ آمدین یا کسی را که میشناسین که تنگ آمده، او وقت باید است که امرای یکی گپ بزنین یا کسی برای شما گپ میزنه، شما باید گوش کنین و برای از امو دوستان یا فامیلتان باشین که خدا نخواسته راستی خودکشی نکنین. از طرف وقتایی گپا بسیار زیاد شده. So کسی که میگه میخواد خودکشی کنه یا خدا وار کنه، پلیز گپش گوش کنین یا برای یک دکتر یا کسی معرفیش کنین.
Yeah, that covers it.
Okay. دوستا سوال زیاد میاد یا نوشته زیاد میاد، از جا خواندن نمیتونم اما بعد از خلاص شدیم براتون میخوانیم. So the next question is how can I get help for depression? So چطور کمک گرفته میتونیم کسایی که depressed هستیم یا میشناسیم کسی باشه؟ Oh, sorry, یک سوالم از دست دادم پس پیشم رفت. What are the different types of depression? So چه قسم depression بوده میتونه؟ چند قسم depression هسته؟ So let's hear it.
Well, there's no one main type of depression.
تنها یک قسم depression نیست؟
There's quite a few different depression diagnoses. The first one is major depressive disorder, or MDD.
So چند قسم هسته و یک قسم خاصش از MDD, major depressive disorder.
There's
What
also
was? Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
in that is.
There's persistent depressive disorder, which is characterized by a chronic low mood.
Persistent depressive disorder و میشه تو low mood کنی جگرخون میباشین خاموش میباشین.
And the difference is that persistent depressive disorder lasts for about 2 years. In order to be diagnosed, you have to have a low mood for about 2 years. And it's very difficult to diagnose persistent depressive disorder because somebody who is in a depressive mood for 2 years doesn't realize that there is a way to be happy, that happiness exists. So they don't even see it. It becomes normal for them. So they don't seek help.
Persistent depressive disorder میگه تو چیز هست که برای 2 سال برای 2 سال هم احساس میکنن که بسیار مشکل میشه برای یک دکتر یا برای خودشان که بفهمه که اینا depressed است از خاطر که به 2 سال یک قسم کنم احساس کنه نمیفهمه که از یک قسم دیگه هم خود باشه. So they feel که اینا می نورمال است اینا تو احساس میکنن همیشه در کدام گپ نو نیست یا کدام گپ خراب نیست. اما برای 2 سال اما تو continuously جگرخون میباشن تو خوشی احساس نمیکنن.
There's also depression, subclinical, which means it's not diagnosed as depression, but it still means that the individual has some of the symptoms and still needs to get help. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
Kind of. So they don't have enough symptoms to actually be diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder or major depression or seasonal affective disorder, but they still have some of the symptoms. They're still functioning.
So I guess that's something like when they're borderline, they're not above or
exactly beneath. Yes, borderline.
So depression, subclinical. میگنی هست چیزی که یک قسمش هست که انو 100% depressed نیست و اما جورم نیست. So بیچاره در بین موندن که کم depressed است کم نیست باز چیزای depression ساینزش داره بازش ندارن. So بازم نزدیکش است نزدیک depressed است. So این نفرها باید است که کمک بگیرن پیش از او که راستی در طرف depression بفته. مثل ترازوست در ترازو اگه این طرف ایستو بیان یک ذره depressed میشن ایستو بیان اون جور میشن بخیر.
There's also seasonal affective disorder. It affects a lot of the times people in more northern countries. So it's just during the darker months of December to February, March, when it's dark and cold, that can actually have an impact on depression because it lowers serotonin levels even more than normal. Right.
Okay. Seasonal, what is it called?
Seasonal affective disorder.
Seasonal affective disorder. میگه قسم هست که کسای زیادتر وقت از جای کسایی میباشن که در یک جا زندگی میکنن که زیاد تاریکی میباشه هفته و کم میباشه یا در جایی که در وقت زمستان باز امو chemical مغزشون رو فکر کنم میگن imbalance میکنه. What is the chemical part? Serotonin. او که پایان آمد یک انسان depressed میشه. So چیزی که بیشتر گفتیم اینه که در دماغ از chemical بالا پایان در زمستان یا در جایی که تاریکی باشه هفته و کم باشه این مریضی پیدا میشه که seasonal است تنها در وقت زمستان.
There's also what's really important to recognize is postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, and that's postpartum psychosis is when the depression is even worse. That women start to have a psychiatric break with reality, and that's when you see delusions, hallucinations, thoughts of suicide or homicide, and it's so important to address this with women who have new babies and they shouldn't feel like they're alone. Basically, they need their community.
He shares the postpartum depression که میگن و زیادتر نه که برای مادرها و کسایی که نه اولادشون تولد میشه باز یک جگرخونی برشون پیدا میشه. یک قسم دیگه‌اش هست که اون برای مادرها که از اینکه در بدتر است و بسیار مشکل است که صدا را میشنون چیزایی که نیست میبینن شاید زیادتر افغانایی در جن یا فکر کنند but it actually like مریضی depression است برای کسایی که مادر است نه اولادشان تولد شده مریضی میگیرشانه and I can't remember the percentage but it's a pretty high percentage of mothers.
Yes, it is. I don't know, and the percentage changes because populations change, but it's a very high amount of women who actually suffer with postpartum depression. Within 24 hours after giving birth, they can start to show symptoms, severe symptoms of depression.
Before we go on, sorry, I'm able to read one comment over there. And they're talking about praying. میگن اگر انسانی که نماز بخونه هیچ وقت depressed نمیشه. As much as I like to believe that to be true, it's not. از خاطر که این تنها از نماز و قرآن خواندن یا با خدا بودن نیست. کسی که بسیار با خدای خودم باشه depressed شده میتونه از خاطر که میتونه chemical باشه. chemical مغز آدم که بالا پایان شد او خوشی را کم و زیاد میکنه. که احساس یک انسان کم و زیاد میکنه که depressed میباشه یا نه. So it has nothing to do with praying. Praying is good, go for it. اما یک کسی که depressed است اگه صد نمازم بخونه معنیش نیست که خداوند اگه بخواه of course جور میشه. اما it needs medical attention. که یک psychologist گپ بزنین، امرای فامیلتان گپ بزنین، که یک کسی گپ بزنین تنها در قرآن شریف و خداوند نمیشه. خداوند دکتر براتون جور کرده که برین پیشش کمک بخواین. So I hope سر کسی بد نخوره. I hope no one minds this, but
no,
they need help outside help.
It's true. I mean, praying is part of a community. If you go to the mosque or your church or wherever you go to pray, that's important because that is community and it helps you and it gives you faith. But it's also important to realize that won't cure your depression. It may help, but it won't cure it. Okay.
کمک کردن میتونه که دعا کنین نماز بخونین اما جور کردن نمیتونه 100%. So بسیار مهم است که امرای یک دکتر یک پروفشنال گپ بزنین یا خودتان نمیتونین یک دوستتان بگوین از اونا کمک بخواین که یک کسی گپ بزنه براتون. Speak to a friend or a doctor.
Yes, absolutely. There's also other types of depression. There's depression is often, it's what we call a comorbid or a dual diagnosis. So it means that if you have depression, you are more than 50% usually likely to develop another psychiatric disorder.
میگن که depression زیادتر وقت امرای یک چیز دیگه یک مریضی دیگه دست به دست میره. So اگر depression یک کس داره زیادتر از 50% چانس است که اون نفر غیر از depression یک مریضی دیگه هم داره.
Yeah, and that has a lot of the times depression is related with anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder.
I don't know how to say anxiety in Farsi.
Anxiety, anxious panic.
Yeah,
panic disorder. It's not the same, but it's
زیادتر وقت depression امرای anxiety یک جای می باشه. او قسم است که دفعتاً یک چیز میشه و خطا میشن نفس کشیدن نمیتونن نفس تنگی شاید فرق کنه but کسایی که anxiety داره چی هم داره نفس تنگی نفسشون قید میشه دلشون تنگ میشه که گپ بزنن.
That's a good question.
I can't read it.
The most of students who are studying in other countries out of Afghanistan, they are under more depression. Some even when they want to kill themselves in the first year.
What is your prediction for?
What's your prediction for? Somebody's got a good question here that I just noticed.
For
those students, we can't give a prediction. I can't give a diagnosis or a prognosis, but that is true. That students who are in their first, second, third year of university or school, it's very difficult.
It has a lot to do with pressure as well.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you were in high school, things weren't so hard. Now you're at university, the pressure is higher. You're paying for things in most countries. And you said, دوستایی که از افغانستان بیرون میره. خب اولا می تنهایی برشان مشکل است. افغانستان هرچی که جنگ باشه هر چیز باشه همراه فامیل یک جای هستن. دفعتاً یک مملکت نو، یک زبان نو، همراه مردم نو، نان نو، هوای نو، کل چیز نو است. So obviously بر از اونا مشکل میشه که دوت حالا دفعتاً از یک خانه که زیادتر وقت مادرای ما چقدر ما رو اشتباه نگاه میکنن دفعتاً یک مملکت دیگه بریم کل چیز فرق میکنه. So از اون خاطر هم depression هم میاد. غیر از درس مشکلات درس کل چیز دیگه هم فرق کرده دور پیششون. I hope that answers it. I said environmental differences.
Oh, yes.
Family, far away from family.
Yes, and feeling disconnected from your community. There's support though on campus. I know so many campuses have support for.
Not only that, my suggestion would be, I think you asked for suggestion or prediction. I think you meant suggestion, I hope. I would suggest every university, or almost every university, has a student body, like a group, like Afghan Association. Join that. You will not only meet people that can relate to you and you can relate to, you can make new friends, and that can help with easing into a new community and society.
And with depression, it's very difficult to even just get up, get out of bed, go to class. But when you are in school and you do have depression, my challenge to you is to go to class. That will help you, that will help with the anxiety, the pressure, that you won't fall behind in class, but it'll also bring you out into the community, and that's important, that you meet new people, that, you never know who's going to be your brand new friend and you can talk to about this. It's important.
So, دوستایی که میخواین فارسی ترجمه شوه، کلی میگه که کسایی که در مکتب از depression احساس میکنه، کار اولی که باید کنین باید در صنف برین. در صنف اقلا نمو یک پرشر از سرتان کم میشه که درس هم میفهمین، در صنف میباشین و شاید اونجا یک دوست نو پیدا کنین و امروی زود یک ذره آسان‌تر شوه براتون. Are you reading the question?
Yeah,
we can read it here.
I'm actually just reading your questions as they come up because there's some really good questions.
Are we done with the questions here?
Not quite yet.
Okay, do you want to do this? Yeah. Let's do that first?
Yeah, there's also one more thing I want to actually go over is that, two more things. That depression, like I said, a lot of the times is diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder.
Okay.
I hope most of you know what I'm talking about when I say generalized anxiety disorder. But that is so important to get a proper diagnosis because medication for depression will actually make your anxiety worse. It's something called an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Anyway, yeah, you translate.
I'm going to forget that, that's why.
Okay.
دوستان میگن که بسیار ضرور است که کسایی که generalized anxiety داره، امراض depression، پیش از پیش بفهمن از خاطر یک دوایی است که برای depression که برای anxiety بسیار نقص کلمه تانه اون نام دوا است. What's the name of the medicine?
Oh, SSRI.
SSRI.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, so کسایی که anxiety داره برش بسیار نقص میکن.
Oh, it's backwards. SSRI.
Yeah, اما مثل الفابت انگلیسی تنها SSRI. کدام spelling دیگه نداره.
Yeah.
But it's obviously shortcut for something else.
Yeah, it's a long name.
Yeah. So کسایی که depression داره فکرتان باشه که اگر anxiety دارین SSRI دوا را نگیرین.
Yeah, so it's important that you get a proper diagnosis, that you go see your doctor, that your doctor spends time with you, asks you lots of questions. If your doctor gives you a diagnosis in 10 minutes of talking to you and gives you a prescription, go talk to someone else because that's not a proper diagnosis.
That's a very good point. کمی میگه وقتی که پیش دکتر رفتین اگر نظر به 10 دقیقه براتون دکترتون گفت که خوش مایلی مریضی را دارین یا depressed هستین اینی دوا را بگیرین، دوا را نگیرین برین امروز یک کس دیگه صحبت کنین. از خاطر زیادتر وقت نه که چیزی که همیشه پیش یک دکتر میرین درباره depression که پرسان میگین اونا بسیار از پیشتان سوال میکنه بسیار زیاد و سراسر از او معاینه میکنه تانا معاینه خون میکنه و چند قسم معاینه میکنه که make sure که دیگه مریضی نیست. وقتی که دیگه مریضی ها خلاص شد مریضی خونتان دیده دید که اون نیست بعد از اون میگن خب شما depressed هستین. So all the other checkups has to be done before you're diagnosed with depression.
Yes, a thorough interview that your doctor should give you or your psychiatrist or psychologist should give you in order to give you a proper diagnosis and to make sure that you get the right treatment. Yeah. Oh, questions.
All right. We already said how it's diagnosed. Okay. The medication we spoke about. What other treatments? دیگه غیر از دوا دیگه چی علاج است برای depression? What are the treatments?
There are lots of treatments for depression and it's important to actually understand, for your doctor to understand your lifestyle, why you have depression. It could be the fact that your depression came out of nowhere, or maybe you're a new mom, you have a new baby, and you're suffering with postpartum depression.
I'm going to forget that.
Yeah, okay.
میگن که بسیار مهم است که دکترتان بفهمن که شما چرا depressed هستین. شاید شما یک مادر نو باشین. I forgot your first example. One was a new mother.
A new mother, or You could be a new student at university, like that gentleman who gave that comment.
یک شاگرد now چی فرق کرده از زندگیتان که all depressed شده? Like what has changed in your life now that you're depressed?
Yeah, so that actually has a huge impact on how your depression is going to be treated. Not everybody needs to take medication. I don't think there's anything wrong with medication, but studies have shown that medication with therapy works 50% about better than medication alone. So the therapies that you could actually try are, there's 3 different types of therapies that I can talk about today. There's psychotherapy, so you go for therapy with your doctor could do it, your psychiatrist, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, an occupational therapist I think can also do this. But psychotherapy is talking about your life with somebody who is not biased and objective. I don't know if you can translate
I will
that.
try. میگه که امروز چند نفر نام گرفتن که میتونن نامش گپ بزنن که like therapy. اما most I think the main one is a psychologist, Risa, right? Psychotherapist?
There's a couple of them,
Yeah.
but in Afghanistan I don't know
What we would have.
yeah
there.
what you would have.
خب basically امروز از اینا درباره کس هست مثل psychologist, right? Psychologist مثل کس میباشه از پیشتون سوال میکنه شما درباره زندگیتان میتونین 100% باش بگوین و انفورمیشن تنها پیش از اونا میباشه و اونا شما را جاج نمیکنه که او انسان خوب است یا خراب است یا چیزی تنها گوش میکنه درباره زندگیتان و امروزتان میتونن پیش ببرن که چی کدام میتونین که زندگیتان را بهتر بسازین که شما خوشتر باشین و دیپرشنتان کم یا خلاص شو بخیر.
There's also a new treatment actually that's been working amazing with depression is called cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know.
You said it's a new study?
It's a newer treatment, but it's actually been shown to be very effective in treating depression.
I don't know how to say treatment right now. I'm having a break.
It's okay. Treatment.
Treatment. Therapy یا دوای نو یا قسم نو که چه قسم depression از بین ببره و هو از cognitive behavioral therapy. Go ahead. You want to explain it?
Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy is about changing. The best way to describe it is changing your thought process.
Cognitive behavioral therapy. What is it? Therapy? Therapy. چیز هست که میگه یاد میده اگه انسانه که چه قسمی که فکر میکنه او را تغییر بده. از یک کس بسیار نگره فکر میکنه و تغییر میدن که یک چیز در خوبی یک چیز در هر چیز خوبی را ببینه غیر از که چیز پوینت های منفیش یافت کنه.
So with CBT, it's cognitive behavioral therapy. With CBT, you and your therapist come up with challenges for yourself. Like I had said to that gentleman before who asked that question, if leaving your house, going to class is too difficult for you, schedule it in. Have an agenda, schedule it in for 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Go to class and stick to that schedule. And then what you do is you write down how you felt afterwards about going to class. And then you can start to change how your thought process happens about doing those activities and how you feel about yourself, how you feel about others, and how you feel about the world.
They're asking about something and if it has a side effect.
Oh, the antidepressants. We'll talk about side effects shortly. We'll just finish this up and then we can talk about side effects because there are side effects.
Of course.
How does that sound?
Okay, I think that was these books were for them to get.
And mindfulness therapy is very similar to cognitive behavioral therapy, but it actually includes meditation, which is, I've tried it, it's awesome, it works. And basically what it is, it's an acceptance of yourself. So if you're having thoughts like, say, I was late to work today. So somebody with depression may say, I was late to work today, I'm a horrible employee, I'm always late to work, and this will always be my life, and I will never go anywhere.
What was the name of this?
Mindfulness therapy.
Okay. So mindfulness therapy یعنی فکرتان رو میگیرین برای هر چیز. So mindتان دمو میباشه I guess. فقط قسم نکنم چیزم explain کنم. میگه مثلا یک example داد کلی میگه که مثلا امروز اگه من به کار نوقت بودم. So میتونه اگه ایت آدم فکر میکنه که او من امروز در کار نوقت بودم بدترین آدم هستم من چرا نوقت شدم همیشه نوقت هستم همیشه می چیزای پوینت نگرفت میباشه. عوض از این میتونن که positive فکر کنه. Mindfulness.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So then instead of thinking those thoughts, you say, okay, that's fine. I was late to work today, and you forgive yourself for thinking those thoughts, because we often do. But you consciously move those thoughts into a more positive direction. So you say, it's actually not always going to be this way. I'm not always late, and I am a good employee. Those sorts of things.
Yeah. So عوضی که فکر کنین که ما اون روز نوقت هستم و بدترین آدم هستم و چرا نوقت هستم، عوض از این میگه فکر کنین که خب you know what صحیح من امروز نوقت هستم اما کارم میکنم، یک کارگر خوب هستم و همیشه نوقت نیستم. So عوضی که تنها نگیره فکر کنین قبول کنین که صحیح نوقت بودم اما عوضش همیشه تو نیستم، آدم خوب هستم، کارگر خوب هستم، چیزای پازیتیوش رو میبینین.
And the meditation goes with that. So you sit with your thoughts and you observe your thoughts. Can you?
Yeah, what was the first part?
So meditation, when you meditate.
Actually, meditation, I don't know how to say meditate in Farsi. Meditate که مثلا یک لحظه بر خود میگیره. So you take a break and it's just about you. I said that in English too.
We're tired.
Sorry, those